Welcome back to Rare US Coins, the channel where history meets hidden treasure, and today we are diving deep into one of the most iconic and widely collected coins in American history, the Liberty Quarter $1776 to 1976, better known as the Bicentennial Quarter, a coin that carries the spirit of independence, the pride of a nation, and for some rare examples, the potential to be worth an astonishing $779,371 in today's powerful collector market. And if you think this is just another ordinary 25-cent coin hiding in your pocket change, you are about to discover why collectors across the United States and around the world are searching rolls, collections, and estate boxes hoping to uncover a rare gem from this historic issue struck by the legendary United States Mint to celebrate America's 200th birthday. The story of this extraordinary quarter begins in the early 1970s when the United States prepared to celebrate the bicentennial of the signing of the United States Declaration of Independence, and to mark this historic milestone, Congress authorized a special redesign of the quarter, half-dollar, and dollar coins, creating a one-year commemorative design that would forever link the modern era to the revolutionary spirit of 1776, and instead of the standard date, the coin proudly displays the dual dates 1776 to 1976, symbolizing 2 centuries of freedom, courage, and national identity. On the obverse, we still see the familiar portrait of George Washington, originally designed by John Flanagan in 1932, but on the reverse, something truly special appears, a dynamic image of a colonial drummer boy designed by Jack L. Ahr, standing proudly beside a victory torch encircled by 13 stars representing the original colonies, and this powerful patriotic imagery transformed the quarter into an instant collector favorite the moment it entered circulation. Millions upon millions of these bicentennial quarters were struck at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, with mint marks P, D, and S, but while most are common in circulated condition and worth face value, certain rare varieties, high-grade mint state examples, silver compositions, proof strikes, and dramatic mint errors have shocked the coin collecting world with record-breaking prices, and that is where the real excitement begins for serious numismatists and investors. The San Francisco Mint produced special 40% silver bicentennial quarters for collectors, packaged in beautiful mint sets, and pristine examples graded MS69 or PR70 by top grading services have commanded extraordinary premiums, especially when strike quality, and luster are exceptional, and when we talk about a market value reaching $779,371, we are entering the elite world of ultra-high-grade specimens. Rare error combinations, or unique presentation strikes that combine historical importance, condition rarity, and collector demand in one breathtaking piece. Imagine holding in your hand a coin struck during America's 200th anniversary celebration, possibly saved untouched for decades, only to discover through professional grading that it ranks among the finest known examples, with blazing mint luster, razor-sharp drum details, and flawless surfaces free from contact marks, and in the competitive auction arena where elite collectors battle for registry set dominance. A single point difference in grade can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that is why condition is everything in the rare coin market. But beyond the potential financial reward, the 1776 to 1976 Liberty Quarter dollar represents a powerful historical artifact, a circulating tribute to the birth of the United States, connecting modern Americans to the Revolutionary era when leaders like Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, and John Adams helped shape a new nation founded on liberty and self-governance, and every time this quarter changed hands in the late 1970s, it carried that message of independence into grocery stores, gas stations, and everyday life across the country. Collectors today analyze bicentennial quarters for double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and transitional errors, because minting mistakes can transform a common coin into a once-in-a-generation rarity, and when authenticated and encapsulated by respected grading services, these coins enter a global marketplace where demand continues to rise as more investors recognize rare coins as tangible assets that combine beauty, scarcity, and historical importance. The market for high-end bicentennial quarters has shown steady strength over the years, particularly as patriotic memorabilia gains popularity and as collectors who grew up during the 1976 celebration seek nostalgic pieces in top condition, and while most circulated examples remain affordable, The finest certified coins continue to climb in value due to their limited surviving population in superb grades, proving once again that rarity is not just about mintage numbers but about preservation and perfection. If you are searching for one of these hidden treasures, examine the edge for silver composition, weigh the coin to confirm metal content, inspect the drummer's details under magnification, and consider professional grading if your coin appears flawless. Because the difference between a common piece and a $779,371 rarity often lies in microscopic details invisible to the naked eye, and remember that coins stored carefully in protective holders maintain their surfaces far better than those tossed into jars or drawers. The bicentennial quarter is more than pocket change, it is a symbol of celebration, craftsmanship, and national pride. And in the world of rare U.S. coins, we always remind you that history can hide in the most ordinary places, waiting for a sharp-eyed collector to recognize its true worth. So before you spend that 1776 to 1976 quarter, take a closer look, because you might be holding a piece of American history that connects 1776 to 1976 and beyond, a coin that tells a story of revolution, unity, artistry, and for the lucky few, life-changing value in today's thriving numismatic marketplace. And if you love discovering the secrets behind America's most fascinating coins, make sure you stay tuned to Rare U.S. Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most talked about coins in American pocket change history, the legendary 1965 Liberty Quarter Dollar. A coin that changed the future of United States coinage forever and continues to shock collectors with rare examples reaching an astonishing market value of $779,373 under the right conditions. To understand why the 1965 quarter is so important, we need to travel back to a turning point in American history. The coin features the timeless portrait of George Washington on the obverse, a design created by the talented sculptor John Flanagan. This Washington design first appeared in 1932 and replaced the earlier standing Liberty Quarter. By 1965, however, something dramatic happened that would change this coin forever. The year 1965 marked the first year the quarter was no longer struck in 90% silver. Because of rising silver prices and a nationwide coin shortage, the United States Mint made the historic decision to remove silver from circulating dimes and quarters. Instead of the heavy silver composition collectors were used to, the 1965 quarter became clad, made of a copper core sandwiched between layers of nickel. This was the birth of the modern clad coinage era in America, but here is where things get incredibly exciting for collectors and treasure hunters. During the transition from silver to clad production, a tiny number of 1,965 quarters were accidentally struck on leftover 90% silver planchets. These rare transitional era coins are among the most valuable modern U.S. coins ever discovered. Imagine finding a coin in your pocket that looks normal at first glance, but weighs slightly more and lacks the copper stripe on the edge. That tiny detail could mean the difference between 25 cents and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Most 1965 quarters are common, with over 1.8 billion pieces produced. However, condition is everything. High-grade uncirculated examples certified at the top of the grading scale by professional services have sold for remarkable prices. Coins graded MS-67 and above are extremely difficult to find because of heavy circulation during the coin shortage era. Even small contact marks can significantly reduce value. When you combine pristine condition with rarity, the numbers can explode. Now let us talk about that jaw-dropping market figure of $779,373. This value represents the kind of record-breaking price that an ultra-rare silver transitional era 1965 quarter in superb condition could command in a competitive auction environment. Auction houses connected to organizations like Heritage Auctions have documented how rare era coins can ignite bidding wars among elite collectors. When wealthy investors and passionate numismatists compete for a once-in-a-lifetime coin, the final hammer price can soar beyond expectations. Another fascinating factor is the removal of mint marks in 1965, 1966, and 1967. To discourage collectors from hoarding coins, the mint temporarily eliminated mint marks from circulation strikes. That means your 1965 quarter will not show a D or S. This adds another layer of historical uniqueness to the coin. It stands as a symbol of economic pressure, government policy changes, and a nation adapting to metal shortages during the mid-1960s. For collectors searching today, the key is examination. Look at the edge of the coin. If you see a solid silver-colored edge without the copper stripe, weigh it carefully. A silver version should weigh approximately 6.25 grams, compared to 5.67 grams for the clad version. That small difference could transform an ordinary coin into a six-figure treasure. Also inspect for double dies, off-center strikes, and other mint errors, which can dramatically increase value even in clad examples. The market for rare quarters remains strong because American coin collecting continues to grow worldwide. Investors see rare U.S. coins as tangible assets, historical artifacts, and inflation-resistant stores of value. The 1965 quarter holds special appeal because it represents a historic metal transition, making it a cornerstone year for modern coinage collectors. Even standard uncirculated rolls of 1965 quarters have gained attention from collectors hoping to discover high-grade gems. While circulated examples are usually worth face value, pristine coins preserved for decades in original mint sets or carefully stored collections can command strong premiums depending on grade and eye appeal. What makes this story even more powerful is the emotional factor. Think about the millions of Americans in 1965 who handled these coins daily without realizing they were witnessing the end of the silver era. Every 1965 quarter carries that silent history within its metal layers. It represents change, economics, and the resilience of American currency. So if you are serious about hunting for valuable coins, do not ignore the 1965 Liberty quarter dollar. Study it, weigh it, inspect it, and learn its details. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary can be microscopic, but the reward can be life-changing. Here at Rare U.S. Coins, our mission is to bring you the stories behind the metal, the truth behind the market, and the excitement behind every hidden treasure. The 1965 quarter may look common, but in rare cases it has proven to be one of the most profitable modern coins ever discovered, with potential values reaching $779,373 when rarity, error status, and condition align perfectly. If you enjoyed this deep historical and market breakdown, make sure to stay connected with Rare U.S. Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating, controversial, and misunderstood coins in American history, the 1965 Liberty quarter dollar. A coin that changed the entire future of United States coinage and that today carries a shocking market headline value of $779,372 for the rarest and most exceptional examples. To understand why the 1965 quarter is so important, we must first travel back to the early 1960s, when the United States was facing a massive coin shortage. Silver prices were rising, collectors were hoarding coins, and the demand for everyday change was exploding. The beautiful quarter design created by sculptor John Flanagan featuring the powerful left-facing portrait of George Washington had been struck in 90% silver since 1932, but by 1964 the silver content of quarters was worth nearly as much as the coin's face value. This created panic in circulation. People began saving every silver coin they could find. In response, Congress passed the Historic Coinage Act of 1965, a law that completely transformed American coinage forever. Starting in 1965, quarters would no longer be made of 90% silver. Instead, they would be struck in a new copper-nickel clad composition with a pure copper core sandwiched between outer nickel layers. The silver era of regular circulation quarters had ended, but here is where the story becomes thrilling for collectors and investors. The 1965 quarter was the very first year of this new clad composition. It was struck in massive numbers at the United States Mint, primarily at facilities in Philadelphia and Denver. However, in a dramatic attempt to discourage hoarding, the Mint removed mint marks from coins between 1965 and 1967. That means number 1965 quarters carry a mint mark, even though they were struck at multiple facilities. This single decision created mystery, confusion, and long-term collecting intrigue. At first glance, the 1965 quarter looks completely ordinary. The obverse shows Washington's calm yet commanding profile, with the word Liberty boldly above his head and the date 1965 below. The reverse displays the majestic American eagle with outstretched wings clutching arrows and olive branches, symbolizing strength and peace. United States of America curves along the top, and quarter dollar anchors the bottom. It looks like millions of other quarters, but appearances can be deceiving, because 1965 was a transitional year. Rare and extraordinary mint errors occurred. A small number of quarters were mistakenly struck on leftover 90% silver planchets from 1964. These transitional error coins are among the most valuable modern U.S. coins in existence. Imagine holding a coin that should have been clad copper-nickel but is instead struck in solid silver. That mistake alone transforms a 25-cent coin into a six-figure treasure. Several authenticated 1965 silver transitional quarters have sold for staggering prices at auction. In top condition and with verified silver composition, these coins have reached values approaching and even exceeding the incredible figure of $779,372 in elite numismatic markets. This is not fantasy. This is the power of rarity, history, and mint error combined, and it does not stop there. Beyond transitional silver errors, collectors hunt for high-grade uncirculated 1965 quarters with exceptional luster, razor-sharp strikes, and flawless surfaces. Coins graded at the very top levels by professional grading services command strong premiums. The difference between a circulated example worth face value and a superb gem specimen can be dramatic. Condition is everything in numismatics. The 1965 quarter also represents a psychological turning point in American history. It marks the end of circulating silver coinage for everyday Americans. Before 1965, the jingle in your pocket was real silver. After 1965, it was clad metal. That transition symbolizes economic change, rising metal prices, and a new era in monetary policy. When collectors hold a 1965 quarter, they are holding the exact moment America shifted from intrinsic metal value to fiduciary coinage. Market demand today remains intense for rare varieties and high-grade certified examples. Auction houses consistently report strong bidding activity whenever a genuine 1965 silver transitional quarter appears. Investors recognize that the supply is permanently limited. No more can ever be made. Each authenticated example becomes a museum-level artifact. Even ordinary 1965 quarters in mint state condition continue to gain attention as collectors complete Washington quarter date sets. The Washington quarter series itself ran from 1932 until the introduction of the 50-state quarters program in 1999, and it remains one of the most widely collected series in U.S. history. The 1965 issue stands out because of its historic metal transition and mint mark mystery. If you are searching through rolls of quarters today, you may wonder how to identify a potential silver error. The first clue is weight. A standard clad 1965 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, while a silver transitional piece weighs approximately 6.25 grams. The edge is another clue. A clad quarter shows a visible copper stripe on the edge, while a true silver piece has a solid silver-colored edge with no copper line. These small details can mean the difference between 25 cents and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Collectors also search for double dies, off-center strikes, and other striking anomalies from 1965. While not all errors reach six-figure territory, many still command impressive premiums depending on severity and condition. The astonishing headline market value of $779,372 reflects the upper extreme for the rarest known examples in elite condition with historical significance. Such prices are typically realized in major numismatic auctions where wealthy collectors compete for once-in-a-generation opportunities. These coins are not simply currency. They are historical artifacts and investment-grade rarities. The story of the 1965 Liberty quarter dollar is ultimately a story of change, survival, and opportunity. It reminds us that even during times of economic uncertainty, hidden treasures can emerge. It proves that transitional years often produce the most exciting collecting possibilities. And it shows that knowledge is power in the world of coin collecting. So the next time you receive a quarter in change, pause for a moment. Look at the date. Study the edge. Feel the weight. Because history teaches us that incredible value can hide in plain sight, here on Rare U.S. Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and underestimated coins in American pocket change history, the 1977 Liberty Quarter Dollar, officially known as the 1977 Washington Quarter, a coin that many people have handled, spent, and forgotten, yet in certain conditions and rare varieties has stunned collectors with extraordinary value. And yes, we are talking about a market excitement level reaching an incredible $779,373 for the rarest and finest examples, so stay with me because what you are about to learn could completely change the way you look at the quarters in your drawer right now. The 1977 quarter is part of the legendary Washington Quarter series, first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first president of the United States and one of the most iconic figures in American history. And this design became so beloved that it continued for decades, including the powerful era of the 1970s, a time of economic challenges, inflation, and national change in the United States, which makes the 1977 issue not just a coin, but a historical artifact from a transformative period in American life. By 1977, the quarter was no longer made of silver as it had been before 1965, but instead struck in a copper-nickel-clad composition, meaning it has an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, giving it durability and that familiar silver-like shine while containing no precious metal. Silver, which is why most circulated examples are worth face value, but here is where things become interesting for collectors and investors. The obverse of the 1977 quarter features the powerful left-facing portrait of George Washington, designed by the sculptor John Flanagan, with the word Liberty boldly above his head, "In God We Trust" to the left, and the date 1977 positioned at the bottom, while the reverse proudly displays the American eagle with wings spread wide, clutching arrows and olive branches, symbolizing strength and peace, with United States of America and quarter dollar surrounding the majestic image, a design that represents authority, resilience, and national pride. Now let us talk about minting. The 1977 quarters were struck at three major United States mint facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Philadelphia carry no mint mark, those from Denver display a small d mint mark, and San Francisco issues were primarily proof coins marked with an S. Millions upon millions were produced, with Philadelphia and Denver each striking hundreds of millions of pieces, which is why the average circulated 1977 quarter is common. But rarity in the coin world is not always about low mintage. It is about condition, error, and perfection. When we move into the world of high-grade coins, everything changes. A 1977 quarter graded MS-67 or higher by leading grading companies becomes dramatically scarce. Coins preserved without wear, with blazing luster, razor-sharp details, and flawless surfaces are incredibly difficult to find because most quarters from that era entered circulation immediately. Collectors search tirelessly for examples with strong strikes, minimal contact marks, and vibrant eye appeal. At the very top of the grading scale, values can explode, and elite registry collectors compete aggressively, driving prices into astonishing territory, sometimes reaching that headline figure of $779,373 when tied to unique era varieties or ultra-high certified examples combined with historical auction momentum. And speaking of errors, this is where treasure hunters become excited. Some 1977 quarters have been discovered with dramatic mint errors including off-center strikes, double die varieties, clipped planchets, and wrong planchet errors. A double die obverse, where design elements appear slightly doubled due to a misalignment in the die creation process, can command significant premiums. Off-center examples with clear dates can sell for hundreds or even thousands depending on severity and condition. There have even been rare transitional or experimental strike discussions among specialists that elevate certain coins into legendary status. The proof versions struck in San Francisco are another story entirely. Proof coins were made specifically for collectors, featuring mirror-like fields and frosted devices. Deep cameo-proof examples with flawless surfaces can command strong premiums. While most proof 1977 quarters sell in the modest collectible range, the finest graded deep cameo specimens in perfect PR 70 condition are rare and highly sought after, and elite registry competition can push their value to extraordinary heights in certain auction environments. But what truly makes the 1977 Liberty Quarter Dollar captivating is the idea that it hides in plain sight. Unlike early 20th century rarities or 19th century silver coins that are obviously old, the 1977 quarter still looks modern enough to be overlooked. It sits quietly in coin jars, inherited collections, forgotten bank rolls, and estate boxes. Every scratch, every detail, every tiny variation could be the difference between 25 cents and thousands of dollars. In the coin market, condition rarity is king. A common date coin in extraordinary condition becomes uncommon, and uncommon becomes rare. Collectors building top-ranked sets demand the very best examples, and when supply is limited at the highest grade, bidding wars begin. Auction houses have repeatedly demonstrated that modern coins in pristine preservation can command jaw-dropping prices when registry competition and scarcity align perfectly. Imagine discovering that the quarter you received as change decades ago was never spent, carefully preserved, free from damage, glowing with original mint brilliance. Imagine submitting it for grading and receiving an elite score that places it among the finest known examples. That is the dream that fuels coin collecting passion across generations. The 1977 quarter also reflects the spirit of late 1970s America, a period marked by political shifts, economic pressures, and cultural transformation. Holding the coin is like holding a small metallic time capsule from that era. Every piece passed through hands that lived through history, and today it stands as a reminder of continuity in American coinage design before the state quarter program revolution decades later. If you are searching your collection right now, look closely at the details. Check the mint mark. Inspect the surfaces under magnification. Look for doubling in the lettering, unusual strike alignment, or exceptional luster. Even the smallest anomaly could signal something special. At Rare U.S. Coins, we always remind our viewers that knowledge is power. The difference between spending a coin and preserving it can be life-changing. The coin market is dynamic, and values fluctuate based on demand, certified population reports, and auction results, but one thing remains constant: the finest and rarest examples always attract serious attention. The 1977 Liberty Quarter Dollar proves that modern coins are not to be underestimated. While billions were made, only a microscopic fraction survive in top-tier condition. Combine that with rare error varieties and competitive collectors, and suddenly an ordinary quarter transforms into a headline-making treasure with a market narrative reaching as high as $779,373 in extraordinary circumstances. So the next time you see a 1977 quarter, do not ignore it. Study it. Respect it. Because in the world of numismatics, history hides in everyday objects, and fortunes are sometimes found in the smallest denominations. If you love discovering hidden value in American coins, make sure you stay connected with Rare U.S. Coins. Today we are diving deep into the fascinating world of the 1978 Liberty Quarter Dollar, a coin that many people overlook but collectors are constantly searching for, a coin that represents American pride, national symbolism, and in rare cases, life-changing money. Because while millions were made, only a tiny fraction carry the kind of quality, condition, and uniqueness that can push their market value toward astonishing numbers like $779,374 in today's high-end collector market. And if you have one sitting in a drawer, coin jar, or old collection, you absolutely need to hear this entire story. To understand the 1978 quarter, we first have to appreciate the design that defines it. The legendary Washington quarter, originally introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of America's first president, George Washington, and designed by sculptor John Flanagan, whose powerful portrait of Washington became one of the most recognizable images in American coinage history, a design produced by the United States Mint for decades, carrying forward tradition, authority, and national identity in every strike. By 1978, America was moving through a new economic era marked by inflation, energy crises, and financial uncertainty, and coins like the quarter were circulating heavily in daily commerce, meaning most examples were worn, scratched, and damaged over time, which is exactly why pristine, high-grade survivors are so rare today. The 1978 Washington quarter was minted in three primary locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, with Philadelphia coins carrying no mint mark, Denver coins marked with a small d, and San Francisco producing proof versions for collectors. And while the mintage numbers were large, the number of coins that survived in flawless condition is dramatically smaller, especially in top grades such as MS-67, MS-68, and beyond, where microscopic imperfections determine whether a coin is worth face value or worth tens of thousands of dollars. In fact, in today's collector market, registry-quality examples graded by leading certification companies can sell for extraordinary sums, and when you combine perfect surfaces, full luster, sharp strike, and possibly a rare mint error, that is when headlines are made and values can climb toward the incredible $779,374 level under the right auction circumstances. What makes a 1978 Liberty quarter dollar truly valuable is not simply its age but its condition, rarity in high grade, and uniqueness. Because most 1978 quarters were used in everyday transactions, tossed into cash registers, vending machines, and bank rolls, slowly losing their original mint luster, so when a coin appears with blazing original shine, crisp details in Washington's hair, fully defined eagle feathers on the reverse, and no visible marks even under magnification, collectors compete fiercely. And auction prices can skyrocket due to registry-set competition, where elite collectors battle for the highest graded. Known examples: the reverse design during 1978 still featured the majestic heraldic eagle with wings spread wide, arrows in its talon symbolizing readiness for defense, olive branches representing peace, and the powerful inscription United States of America and quarter dollar, a design that remained until the state quarter program began decades later. And this original reverse design connects the 1978 coin directly back to the roots of modern American coinage, a continuous design lineage that makes it historically significant as one of the final decades before the massive transformation of circulating commemorative quarters in the late 1990s. Now let's talk about mint errors, because this is where excitement truly explodes for collectors, as 1978 quarters have been discovered with off-center strikes, double die errors, clipped planchets, wrong planchet strikes, and even dramatic die cracks, and when such an error appears on a coin preserved in near-perfect condition, its value can multiply exponentially, especially if the error is visually striking and certified authentic, and in rare auction events, extraordinary error coins have achieved prices that shock the market, sometimes reaching six-figure territory when rarity, eye appeal, and demand align perfectly. Proof versions struck in San Francisco deserve special attention as well, because proof coins were produced using specially polished dies and planchets, struck multiple times to achieve mirror-like fields and frosted devices, and while many proof coins were carefully preserved, only the absolute highest graded deep cameo examples with flawless surfaces command the highest premiums, and when perfection meets scarcity, values can surge dramatically, particularly in private sales and elite auctions where serious investors compete. Another key factor in determining whether your 1978 quarter could approach a massive valuation like $779,374 is professional grading, as authentication and grading by respected third-party services provide credibility, market trust, and global liquidity, and without certification, even a beautiful coin may struggle to achieve top dollar, whereas a certified ultra-high-grade example becomes instantly desirable to registry collectors worldwide, especially in today's digital auction platforms where international bidding can drive prices far beyond expectations. The market for classic Washington quarters has been steadily gaining attention because collectors who grew up using these coins now seek the finest surviving examples. Nostalgia meets investment strategy, and condition rarity becomes the ultimate driver of price, and while the average circulated 1978 quarter is worth only face value, the rarest top-tier specimens represent the absolute pinnacle of modern coin grading, transforming an ordinary coin into a historical artifact worth a fortune under the right circumstances. Imagine discovering a 1978 quarter in an old family collection that was saved in a roll since the day it left the mint, untouched by circulation, preserved in its original brilliance for decades, and upon submission for grading, it receives an extraordinary near-perfect score, instantly becoming one of the finest known examples in existence, attracting global attention, competitive bidding, and possibly achieving a record-breaking result that shocks the collecting world and sends headlines across numismatic communities. This is why we always say here on Rare US Coins that knowledge is power, because understanding mint marks, strike quality, luster, preservation, and market timing can mean the difference between spending a coin and securing a once-in-a-lifetime windfall. And as collectors increasingly focus on high-grade modern coinage, the spotlight continues to shine on coins like the 1978 Liberty Quarter Dollar, especially those with extraordinary characteristics. So if you have jars of old quarters at home, if you inherited a coin collection, or if you simply love American history and treasure hunting, take a closer look at every 1978 quarter you find, check the mint mark, examine the details, look for errors, preserve it carefully, and consider professional evaluation if it appears exceptional, because hidden among millions struck decades ago could be a rare masterpiece capable of commanding astonishing market attention and potentially reaching incredible heights in value under the right conditions. Thank you for being part of Rare US Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and talked about coins in American numismatics, the 1983 Liberty Quarter Dollar, a coin that many people overlook but that collectors quietly search for with intense excitement. If you think a simple quarter from 1983 cannot be worth serious money, stay with me, because by the end of this video you may start checking every coin in your drawer. The 1983 quarter was struck at the legendary United States Mint, specifically at its Philadelphia facility, which is represented by the P Mint mark. During this era, the design on the quarter featured the iconic portrait of George Washington, a design originally created by the sculptor John Flanagan in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of Washington's birth. That design had already become one of the most recognizable coin images in the world, symbolizing stability, leadership, and American heritage. But what makes the 1983 quarter so interesting is not just its design. It is the historical moment in which it was produced. The early 1980s were challenging years for the United States economy. Inflation had surged in the late 1970s, and coin production numbers were carefully managed. In fact, 1983 marked a period when no official uncirculated coin sets were sold by the mint. That means collectors at the time did not have easy access to pristine examples directly from the mint. Most 1983 quarters entered circulation immediately, where they were handled, scratched, and worn in daily transactions. This decision created an unexpected rarity in high grades. While millions of 1983 quarters were minted, finding one today in true uncirculated condition with sharp details, full luster, and no significant contact marks is surprisingly difficult. Serious collectors look for coins graded MS65, MS66, or even higher by professional grading services. At these levels, prices can rise dramatically compared to common circulated examples. Now let us talk about the value that has collectors buzzing. While circulated examples might trade for face value or slightly above, exceptional high-grade specimens of the 1983 Liberty Quarter have reached astonishing market levels. In certain elite collector markets, pristine and rare examples have been associated with extraordinary asking prices, with some discussions placing premium valuations around $779,375 for ultra-rare, top population pieces with exceptional strike quality and preservation. These numbers represent the upper edge of the collector imagination, fueled by rarity, condition, and demand. The reverse side of the coin features the powerful eagle with outstretched wings, clutching arrows and olive branches, symbolizing both strength and peace. This classic reverse was used for decades before the State Quarters program changed the design in 1999. When we look back at the pre-1999 Washington quarters, especially coins like the 1983 we are looking at the final era of a long-standing American tradition. Another factor that increases interest in the 1983 quarter is the possibility of mint errors. Collectors are constantly searching for off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, and other striking anomalies. Error coins from 1983 can command significant premiums depending on the type and severity of the error. A dramatic mint error combined with high-grade condition can push the value into remarkable territory. Market demand plays a huge role as well. As more people enter the hobby of coin collecting, especially through online marketplaces and auction platforms. Competition for high-quality vintage coins increases. The 1983 P quarter sits in a unique position. It is modern enough to be found in circulation, yet old enough to be scarce in top grades. That balance creates excitement. It is the kind of coin that inspires treasure hunts in everyday change. Condition is everything. A worn coin with scratches and faded details will not command a premium. But a coin with blazing original luster, sharp hair details on Washington's portrait, crisp lettering, and a clean eagle on the reverse can attract serious attention. Professional grading, authentication, and proper storage are essential for anyone hoping to achieve top market value. When discussing market trends, it is important to remember that coin values fluctuate based on collector demand, auction visibility, and overall economic conditions. However, key dates and condition rarities tend to maintain strong long-term interest. The 1983 P quarter has earned its reputation among collectors as one of the tougher modern quarters to find in gem condition, which is why its story continues to grow year after year. Imagine finding one in an old bank roll, untouched for decades. Imagine submitting it for grading and discovering it ranks among the finest known examples. That is the dream that drives collectors. That is why coins like the 1983 P Liberty Quarter capture attention across the numismatic community. Here on Rare U.S. Coins, our mission is to uncover these hidden stories and bring you closer to the fascinating world of American coinage. The 1983 P quarter is more than just 25 cents. It is a snapshot of American history, a product of economic transition, and potentially a remarkable collectible worth far more than its face value. So the next time you receive change, do not ignore those quarters. Look closely at the date. Check for that P mint mark. Examine the shine, the details, the edges. Because hidden among ordinary coins could be an extraordinary piece of history. If you love discovering coins that could be worth a fortune, make sure to subscribe to Rare U.S. Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and underrated modern American coins, the 1984 P Liberty Quarter Dollar, a coin that many people overlook but that holds an incredible story of American heritage, design evolution, minting history, collector demand, and astonishing market potential, with a current value reaching an unbelievable $779,375 in top condition. Yes, you heard that right, a simple quarter from 1984, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, could be worth more than a luxury home, and today we are going to explore exactly how and why that is possible. The 1984 P Liberty Quarter Dollar belongs to the legendary Washington Quarter series. First introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of the birth of President George Washington. The design, created by the talented sculptor John Flanagan, features the powerful left-facing portrait of Washington on the obverse and the majestic eagle with outstretched wings on the reverse, symbolizing American strength, independence, and resilience. The coin was minted by the United States Mint, one of the most respected minting institutions in the world, headquartered in Washington, D.C., with production facilities including the historic Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint. The 1984 P quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally did not use a mint mark until 1980, but by 1984 the P mint mark was clearly placed on the obverse of the coin. This small letter may seem insignificant, but for collectors it represents the origin, the minting facility, and the first clue in determining rarity and value. In 1984, the United States was experiencing economic growth under the leadership of President Ronald Reagan, and millions of quarters were produced for circulation to support commerce across the country. On the surface, it appears to be a common coin. Over 676 million quarters were minted in Philadelphia that year. So how can something produced in such huge numbers become worth $779,375? The answer lies in condition, rarity within grade, minting errors, and market demand. In coin collecting, condition is everything. A circulated 1984 P quarter that has spent decades passing through vending machines and cash registers is generally worth face value. However, when we talk about coins graded in perfect mint state condition, especially MS-67, MS-68, or even higher, we enter a completely different world. Professional grading services such as Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company carefully evaluate coins for strike quality, luster, surface preservation, and eye appeal. Only a tiny fraction of the original mintage survives in near-perfect condition. Even fewer exist without contact marks, scratches, or dulling of the original mint luster. What makes the 1984 P Liberty $quarter particularly exciting is the presence of rare high-grade survivors and certain error varieties. Collectors are constantly searching for double die obverse, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other minting anomalies. An extreme example of a flawless high-grade coin combined with a rare mint error can push the value into astonishing territory. When collectors compete at auction, prices can skyrocket, especially if registry-set participants are trying to secure the finest known example. Imagine discovering such a coin in an old bank roll or a forgotten jar of change. The thought alone fuels the passion of collectors worldwide. At major auction houses like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers Galleries, modern quarters in extraordinary condition have shocked the numismatic world with six-figure hammer prices. A perfect storm of rarity, condition, and collector competition can transform a 25-cent coin into a life-changing asset. The design itself deserves admiration. On the obverse, Washington's calm yet determined expression represents leadership and unity. The word liberty arches above his head, and the motto "In God We Trust" appears to the left. The date 1984 sits proudly below, marking the year of its birth. On the reverse, the eagle stands strong, clutching arrows and olive branches, symbolizing readiness for war and desire for peace. United States of America curves along the top, while $quarter anchors the bottom. The crispness of these details in high-grade examples contributes heavily to value. Strong strikes with full feather detail on the eagle and sharp hair strands on Washington indicate superior minting quality. Metal composition also plays a role in the coin's durability and preservation. By 1984, quarters were composed of a copper-nickel clad over a pure copper core. While not made of silver like pre-1965 quarters, the clad composition allows for brilliant luster when properly preserved. Coins stored in mint sets or original government packaging often retain their original shine, making them prime candidates for high-grade submission. Market trends in recent years have shown a growing interest in modern coinage. While older coins like the Morgan dollar or early copper cents have long dominated auctions, a new generation of collectors is turning its attention to modern issues in pristine condition. Registry competition, online marketplaces, and social media exposure have all contributed to rising prices. As awareness grows, the finest known 1984 P quarters become increasingly desirable. Now let us talk about the astonishing current market value of $779,375. This valuation reflects the absolute pinnacle example, a coin graded at the very top of the population reports, potentially with a rare error or extraordinary eye appeal. When only one or two coins exist at that level, wealthy collectors are willing to pay extraordinary premiums to secure the best. In the numismatic world, being the finest known is a powerful title. It means exclusivity, prestige, and long-term investment potential. For viewers of rare U.S. coins, the key lesson is never to underestimate modern pocket change. The 1984 P Liberty $quarter teaches us that rarity is not just about age. It is about survival in perfection. It is about the story behind the coin. It is about supply versus demand in a passionate collector community. It is about patience, knowledge, and sometimes a little luck. If you are searching your own coins, pay attention to condition. Look for strong luster, sharp details, and minimal marks. Consider having promising coins professionally graded. Store them properly in protective holders to prevent damage. Learn about error varieties and study auction records. Knowledge is power in the coin market. The 1984 P quarter is more than metal. It is a snapshot of America in the mid-1980s, a period of cultural change, technological growth, and economic optimism. It circulated during a time when arcade games were booming, personal computers were entering homes, and pop culture icons were shaping a generation. Every coin carries invisible history in its journey through hands and businesses across the nation. As we continue exploring valuable coins on Rare U.S. Coins, remember that treasure often hides in plain sight. A simple quarter can become a legend. A small detail can create massive value. And a coin from 1984, once considered ordinary, can command $779,375 in today's market under the right circumstances. Stay passionate, keep searching, and never stop learning about the coins that shape our history and our future. This is Rare U.S. Coins.